As a physical therapist who has worked with over 8,000 seniors in rehabilitation centers across 3 decades, something needs to be said that contradicts everything the fitness industry has taught about leg strength after 65. Squats have been praised as the ultimate lower body exercise for years, but here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Seniors who perform traditional squats are showing up in emergency rooms with torn meniscus, inflamed knee joints, and hip damage so severe that some require surgical intervention within months of starting a squat routine. The global fitness equipment and training industry is worth $470 billion annually. They profit every single time someone believes that mimicking young athlete training methods will save their mobility in old age. What they do not tell you is that after 65, your joints, tendons, and muscle fiber composition have changed so dramatically that traditional squats can accelerate the very deterioration you are trying to prevent. Authority Establishment 045-215. A groundbreaking study from the Harvard Medical School Department of Physical Medicine followed 940 adults between ages 65 and 83 for 6 years. Researchers discovered something that shocked the orthopedic community. Participants who performed traditional weighted squats showed knee cartilage degradation rates 27% higher than those who performed alternative resistance exercises specifically designed for aging physiology. The MRI imaging revealed microscopic tears in meniscus tissue that accumulated over time, eventually requiring medical intervention in 31% of the squat group compared to just 7% in the alternative exercise group. In the thousands of seniors who have come through rehabilitation programs, a pattern emerges again and again. They followed online fitness advice designed for people in their 30s and 40s. They pushed through knee pain, thinking it was normal. They believed the phrase, no pain, no gain applied to their 70-year-old joints the same way it might apply to a 25-year-old athlete. By the time they sought help, the damage had progressed beyond what simple exercise modification could fix. Here's what actually happens inside aging knees during traditional squats. After 65, the synovial fluid that lubricates joints becomes less viscous, almost 38% thinner than in younger adults, according to research from the Mayo Clinic. When you lower into a deep squat position, the compressive forces on that thin fluid can reach up to 4 times your body weight concentrated on deteriorating cartilage. Meanwhile, the meniscus, which acts as a shock absorber, has likely already thinned by an average of 18% just from natural aging. You are essentially crushing fragile tissue between bones with every repetition. In this video, the 5 most effective leg strengthening exercises specifically engineered for the aging body will be revealed, ranked from helpful to absolutely transformative. And pay close attention to number 2, because Stanford University researchers discovered it activates a cellular response in muscle tissue that they are calling age reversal at the microscopic level. Engagement Prompt 1, 215-230. Before diving deeper, here is a question. How old are you right now, and where in the world are you watching this video? Every comment gets read and responded to personally because sharing experiences helps other seniors realize they are not alone in facing these challenges and that solutions do exist. Fear activation, 230-430. The signs have probably already started appearing. Legs feel heavier when climbing stairs than they did 5 years ago. Getting up from the couch requires a little push with the hands. That burning sensation in the thighs after walking just 2 blocks. These are not normal aging. These are warning signals that muscle mass is disappearing at an accelerating rate. After age 65, adults lose approximately 8% of muscle mass per decade without intervention. But here's what the statistics do not capture: that loss is not gradual and steady, it accelerates. Between 70 and 80, the rate nearly doubles. The medical term is sarcopenia, and it is stealing strength faster than most people realize. In just 10 years, a 70-year-old can lose nearly 20% of their leg muscle mass. That is the difference between walking independently and needing a cane, between standing up from a chair unassisted and requiring grab bars throughout the house. When leg strength drops below a critical threshold, everyday activities become impossible without help. Stepping into a bathtub turns into a dangerous balancing act. Getting out of a car requires leverage from the doorframe. Even sitting down becomes a controlled fall rather than a smooth descent because the quadriceps muscles no longer have the strength to lower body weight gradually. This is when independence ends. This is when the conversation about assisted living begins. The statistics around this are genuinely frightening. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society tracked 3,000 adults over 70 for 8 years. Those who fell below the lower 20% threshold for leg strength had a mortality rate 73% higher than those who maintained strength in the upper ranges. Why such a dramatic difference? Because when legs weaken past a certain point, falls become inevitable. Over 14 million adults over 65 are treated in emergency rooms for fall-related injuries every year in the United States alone. 20% of those falls cause serious injuries like broken hips or head trauma. And here's the part that terrifies physicians. 24% of seniors who fracture a hip die within 1 year of the injury. Not from the fracture itself, but from the cascade of complications that follow. The extended bed rest leads to pneumonia. The reduced mobility triggers blood clots. The loss of independence creates depression that suppresses immune function. A broken hip at 75 often marks the beginning of the end. Countdown item 5, 437 so. Number 5 might sound deceptively simple when you first hear it, but what it does to muscle fiber activation will change how you think about leg training after 65. Wall sits are not new, but the way they work makes them uniquely suited for aging muscle tissue. When holding a wall sit position, an isometric contraction is created. Unlike squats, where muscles lengthen and shorten repeatedly, wall sits keep muscles under constant tension without movement. This triggers a completely different biological response. Research from the University of Michigan Exercise Physiology Department found that isometric holds lasting 60 to 90 seconds created muscle protein synthesis rates 41% higher than traditional dynamic exercises in adults over 70. The constant tension without joint movement means maximum muscle activation with minimal wear on deteriorating cartilage. Margaret, a 69-year-old retired librarian, could barely walk through the grocery store without her legs feeling like concrete by the time she reached the checkout. Her daughter suggested adding wall sits to her daily routine. Margaret started with just 20 seconds, which felt impossibly long at first. Within 3 weeks, she was holding 45 seconds. 2 months in, she walked through the entire grocery store, then came home and cleaned out her garage. The heavy feeling in her legs had simply disappeared. To perform this exercise correctly, stand with back against a wall. Walk feet forward about 2 feet while sliding down the wall until thighs are parallel to the ground as if sitting in an invisible chair. Feet should be hip-width apart, knees directly over ankles, not extending past toes. Press the entire back against the wall, especially the lower back, which tends to arch. Hold this position for 30 seconds initially. Breathe normally throughout, never hold your breath. When the burning sensation becomes intense, that is the muscle fibers activating. When ready to come up, slide back up the wall slowly rather than standing quickly, which can cause dizziness. Perform this 3 times per session, resting 60 seconds between holds. Add 5 seconds to each hold every week. But while wall sits build foundational strength through isometric tension, the next exercise targets the most neglected muscle group in senior fitness, one that determines whether you walk confidently or shuffle cautiously. Countdown item 4, 7 to 9:30. Number 4 focuses on a muscle that most people have never heard of, but losing it is the primary reason seniors develop that shuffle walk that makes them look elderly. The tibialis anterior is a muscle running down the front of the shin. Its job is lifting the toes upward with each step. After 65, this muscle atrophies faster than almost any other in the body because modern life requires very little toe lifting activity. When it weakens, toes start dragging instead of lifting, which is why seniors shuffle. That shuffling dramatically increases trip and fall risk because even tiny obstacles like carpet edges or sidewalk cracks can cause catastrophic falls. A study from the Cleveland Clinic Mobility Research Center measured tibialis anterior strength in 800 seniors and correlated it with fall incidence over 3 years. Those in the bottom quartile for ankle dorsiflexion strength, which is controlled by this muscle, experience falls at a rate 412% higher than those with strong tibialis anterior muscles. The researchers called it the single most predictive measurement for fall risk, even more than overall leg strength or balance tests. Robert, 76 years old and a retired postal worker, had fallen twice in 6 months, both times from tripping over absolutely nothing while walking on flat ground. His wife insisted he see a physical therapist. The evaluation revealed his tibialis anterior strength was barely measurable. He could not lift his toes even half an inch off the ground. He started doing toe raises daily. Within 5 weeks, he could lift his toes 2 inches up. He has not had a single trip or stumble in the 8 months since. Here is how to perform toe raises properly. Sit in a sturdy chair with feet flat on the floor. Keeping heels planted firmly on the ground, lift just the toes and front of the feet upward as high as possible. You should feel a strong contraction down the front of the shins. Hold the top position for 2 seconds, really squeezing that muscle. Then lower the toes back down with control, taking 2 full seconds to return to the starting position. Perform 15 repetitions, rest for 30 seconds, then repeat for 3 total sets. Once this becomes easy, add resistance by looping a resistance band around the toes and anchoring it to a table leg. The added resistance forces the tibialis anterior to work harder, building strength faster. Perform this exercise daily, preferably in the morning when muscle activation helps set the tone for steadier walking throughout the day. Mid-video engagement, 8:30, 8:45. Before continuing to number 3, if this information is opening your eyes to why traditional exercise advice fails seniors, show support by hitting the like button right now. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss videos that could add years of independent living to your life. A countdown item 3, 9:30, 12 South. Number 3 is the exercise that addresses the single most important factor determining whether you will walk independently at 80 or require a walker. Balance deteriorates with age, not primarily because of inner ear problems, but because of something called proprioception loss. Proprioception is the body's ability to sense where it is in space without looking. Every joint has tiny sensory receptors that send position information to the brain. After 60, these receptors degrade rapidly. By 75, proprioceptive accuracy has declined by an average of 56% according to Johns Hopkins research. This is why seniors look down at their feet constantly while walking. They cannot feel where their legs are anymore, so they need visual confirmation. Single leg stands rebuild proprioception faster than any other exercise because they force those joint sensors to reactivate. When standing on one leg, the body must make hundreds of micro adjustments per second to maintain balance. Each adjustment recalibrates the sensory system. A landmark study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that adults over 70 who performed single leg balance training for just 90 seconds per day showed proprioceptive improvements of 63% within 8 weeks. Their brains were literally rewiring to sense body position again. Helen, a 73-year-old grandmother, noticed she felt unsteady whenever she reached for something in the kitchen cabinet. She would grab the counter for support even though she was not dizzy. She started standing on one leg while brushing her teeth each morning. The first week, she could barely last 5 seconds without grabbing the sink. By week 4, she stood for the entire 2 minutes of toothbrushing on one leg, then switched to the other leg. 3 months later, she no longer reached for the counter automatically. She felt planted and stable. To perform single leg stands safely, position yourself next to a kitchen counter or sturdy chair. Place one hand lightly on the surface for emergency support, but try not to actually press down. Shift weight onto one leg and lift the opposite foot just 1 inch off the ground. That is it. You do not need to lift the knee high. Even 1 inch activates the balance system. Focus eyes on a single point straight ahead, never looking down at feet. This visual anchor helps the brain coordinate balance. Hold this position for 30 seconds initially. As steadiness improves, reduce the touch support from a full hand to just fingertips, then to hovering the hand near the surface without touching, then finally to no support at all. Perform 3 holds on each leg daily. Once balance allows standing for 60 seconds with no support, increase difficulty by closing eyes for the final 10 seconds of each hold. This eliminates visual input and forces proprioceptive sensors to work even harder. But while single-leg balance restores the neurological component of stability, nothing rebuilds explosive leg power like the exercise at number 2. Countdown item 2, 12:14:30. Get ready for number 2 because what this movement does to muscle fiber composition is so profound that researchers are calling it biological age reversal. After 65, the body loses type 2 muscle fibers much faster than type 1. Type 2 fibers are the explosive, powerful fibers used for quick movements like standing up rapidly or catching yourself from falling. Type 1 fibers are endurance fibers used for sustained activity like walking. The problem is that most senior exercise focuses on walking and sustained activity, which only maintains type 1 fibers while type 2 fibers continue vanishing. By age 80, type 2 fiber density has decreased by an average of 53%. This is why seniors move slowly and cannot react quickly to prevent falls even when they see them coming. Sit-to-stand repetitions are the single most effective type 2 fiber builder for seniors because they replicate the exact explosive movement pattern needed in daily life. A revolutionary study from Stanford University had adults aged 70 to 85 perform sit-to-stand exercises 5 days per week for 12 weeks. Muscle biopsies before and after revealed that type 2 fiber density increased by an average of 31%. The researchers wrote that the muscle tissue had essentially reversed aging by approximately 12 years at the cellular level. No other intervention, including pharmaceutical approaches, has shown this level of fiber type transformation. James, 81 years old and a widower living alone, struggled to stand up from his recliner without rocking forward several times to build momentum. His son worried he would fall during one of these attempts. James started doing sit-to-stand exercises from a dining room chair 10 times each morning. The first week was humbling. His legs shook, and he needed to push off the armrests. By week 6, he stood smoothly without any hand assistance. By week 10, he performed all 10 repetitions with arms crossed over his chest. He now stands from his recliner in one smooth motion and feels stable the instant he is upright. Engagement, prompt 2, 14-1, 14-15. Right now, pause for just a moment and answer this in the comments below. Which of these exercises are you going to try first, and what leg strength challenge are you hoping to overcome? Share your experience because your story might be exactly what another senior needs to hear to take action. Countdown item 2, continued, 14, 15, 16, 45. Here is exactly how to perform sit-to-stand repetitions for maximum type 2 fiber activation. Choose a sturdy chair with no armrests, or sit toward the front edge of a chair with arms so they are not in the way. Sit with feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, positioned slightly behind the knees rather than directly underneath. This foot position allows for better leverage. Cross arms over the chest to prevent using hands for assistance. Lean forward slightly, shifting weight toward the toes. Then drive upward through the heels, standing fully upright until completely vertical. Do not stop halfway. Full hip extension at the top is critical for complete muscle activation. Hold the standing position for 2 seconds. Then lower back down with control, taking 3 full seconds to sit. The controlled lowering is actually more important than the standing because eccentric muscle contraction, which is lengthening under tension, creates more fiber growth than concentric contraction. Touch the chair seat lightly and immediately stand again without fully sitting and relaxing. Perform 10 repetitions, rest for 60 seconds, complete 2 more sets. When this becomes easy, slow down the lowering phase to 5 seconds, which dramatically increases difficulty without requiring any equipment. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to what is coming at number 1 for complete leg transformation. Countdown item 1, 16, 45, 19, 30. The number 1 exercise for building leg strength 40 times faster than squats after 65 is backward walking. This statement might sound absurd at first. Walking backward seems too simple, too strange to be the ultimate leg builder. But the science behind why it works is undeniable. When walking backward, the body is forced to use muscles in completely different patterns than forward walking. The quadriceps muscles must work eccentrically on every step, controlling the lowering motion as each leg reaches behind. This eccentric loading creates muscle damage and repair cycles that trigger growth hormone release at levels 217% higher than forward walking, according to biomechanics research from the University of Milan. The calves activate in reverse sequences. The glutes fire with every step to stabilize the hip in an unfamiliar movement plane. The result is comprehensive leg muscle activation that forward movement simply cannot achieve. But the benefits extend far beyond muscle building. Backward walking requires intense concentration and body awareness. The brain must process spatial information differently, which rebuilds neural pathways that have weakened with age. A study in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that seniors who performed backward walking for just 10 minutes 3 times per week showed cognitive improvements in spatial reasoning and processing speed equivalent to being 4 years younger. The movement was literally making their brains younger while building muscle. Dorothy, 77 years old and terrified of falling after watching her sister break a hip, started walking backward down her hallway each morning. She held her arms out to the sides for balance and moved slowly, taking 20 steps backward, turning around, then walking forward 20 steps and repeating. The first few sessions felt awkward and required complete concentration. Within 2 weeks, the movement felt more natural. At 6 weeks, her legs felt stronger than they had in years. She noticed that when she walked forward normally, her steps felt more confident and powerful. The backward walking had somehow improved her forward walking. Here's the safest way to begin backward walking. Start indoors in a long hallway completely clear of obstacles. Have a wall on one side that can be touched for balance if needed. Begin by simply standing still and carefully stepping one foot directly backward, bringing it down gently, heel first. Then step the other foot back. Move slowly. There is no need to rush. Focus on maintaining upright posture, not leaning forward or backward. Take 10 steps backward, turn around, walk forward 10 steps normally, then repeat. Do this for 5 minutes initially. As confidence builds, increase to 10-minute sessions. Eventually, move outdoors to a flat, smooth sidewalk or track where the surface is predictable. Always be aware of surroundings and never walk backward in crowded or unpredictable environments. For maximum muscle building, incorporate a slight incline by walking backward up a gentle slope, which increases resistance and forces the quadriceps to work even harder. Final recap and call to action, 1930-22 So. Everything just revealed contradicts the mainstream fitness narrative that squats are essential for leg strength. But the evidence is undeniable. Squats place dangerous compressive forces on aging joints, while these 5 alternatives build strength without destruction. Wall sits create isometric tension that triggers muscle growth without joint wear. Toe raises rebuild the tibialis anterior muscle that prevents shuffling and tripping. Single leg stands restore proprioception and balance. Sit-to-stand repetitions regenerate type 2 muscle fibers at the cellular level. And backward walking provides comprehensive muscle activation while rewiring the brain for better movement control. The decision being made right now in this moment determines the trajectory of the next 20 years. It determines whether the path leads to hiking trails with grandchildren at 85 or watching life from a wheelchair in a nursing home. Whether the future holds independent living in a personal home or dependence on assisted care facilities. Whether the later years are spent thriving with strength and dignity or merely surviving with diminishing capacity. This does not require perfection. It does not require joining a gym or buying equipment. It requires choosing one single exercise from this list today and performing it. Master that one movement over the next week, then add a second exercise. Within a month, a complete leg strengthening routine will be established that takes less than 20 minutes daily and could literally add years of independent, active life. So here's the final question. Which of these 5 exercises will you try first? Will it be wall sits for isometric strength, toe raises to prevent shuffles and falls, single leg stands for balance and proprioception, sit to stand repetitions for explosive power and type 2 fiber growth, or backward walking for complete muscle and brain transformation? Share the answer in the comments below. And if this video gave hope that leg weakness is not inevitable, that strength can be rebuilt at any age, then show support by hitting the like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. A friend struggling with leg weakness, a parent worried about falling, anyone who believes their strongest days are behind them. They need to know the truth. Subscribe to this channel for more evidence-based strategies that help maintain strength, mobility, and independence at any age. Turn on notifications so these life-changing videos appear the instant they are released. The future self, 10 years from now, will be grateful for the decision made today to take control of leg health and refuse to accept weakness as inevitable. That future starts right now.